Here we go. Hello, this is Paul Ritchie. My guest today, this is the first time I've interviewed two people at once um, for this website, Allegheny Independent Media. Okay, my two guests are Rachel Allen and Tulsi Shrivastava. Did I say your name right?
Yes, that's right.
Of the Unity Coalition of the Southern Alleghenies. They've agreed to talk to me about the activities of the Unity Coalition. The Okay, so basically, yes, this is an excerpt from my book, Weathering Depths in Johnstown by the Numbers. I spoke about I spoke about this was included in my chapter on, people trying to turn the area around. So, yes, so basically the Unity Coalition, it was founded in 1994, to counteract rising hate group activity in the area. It once had 43 chapters across the state, you know, 201 members signed a pledge to promote the respect for difference, repudiate words and acts of hatred, intimidation, and violence, and to take a public stand for equality, diversity, and nonviolence. So, yes, they had committees for programming and community education, emergency response supportive services, media and public relations, and heritage projects. So, yes, so certainly, yes, it was a broad group. They actually they actually did a I found a survey of their members where they found out, basically most of the members were, I guess, well, I would say most of the members were interested in programming and community education, followed by emergency response and supportive services, plus the other plus other the other projects. So, yes, I mean, certainly, yes, they have been continuously active since 1994. One of their major activities in recent years was the large crowd they had in Central Park in a rally in response to the tragic events in Charlottesville, Virginia. The white supremacist rally that led to the death of Heather Heyer. So so yes, certainly they have a very rich history, and so I've invited Rachel and Tulsi just to give some more, just to fill in some of the blanks. Would you like to start, Rachel?
Sure. So I was part not as leadership or super active member, but my family was involved. I remember my son was a baby, and we attended some Unity Coalition events, uh, and they had a couple just like picnics. Wanting to create social spaces and places where people could interact that had shared values and shared missions in addition to the direct action. So I recall being part of that community, sort of on the periphery when my kids were little, and the Unity Coalition had kind of the members had grown older and sort of things had changed, shifted in the area, and it wasn't until I think 2015 Sama Sabitan and I came together around uh, anti-immigrant energy around the election at that time, and we had created a group called Johnstown Unity, not as the Unity Coalition, and we had just had a couple get-togethers at the YWCA. And it was after the January 2016 when there was a hate speech act in Johnstown, when there was a rally in Central Park for that the members, I think it was Gladys and Charles Clifton, had asked, since we had created some momentum around this Johnstown Unity group, if we wanted to just sort of fold that into the Unity Coalition. And so that's sort of how the reemergence of the Unity Coalition came about. And So we've been, sort of, taking the torch from the founding members, and, finding being responsive to what's in our community. And I didn't realize until I was doing the archive of the material that Unity Coalition had chapters. And I am actually doing some contract work for the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, and we had that conversation about Unity Coalition perhaps becoming part of that organization again. So that may happen in the future. But yeah, we've been since COVID mainly supporting other organizations and events in the community. We take a really active role with the Johnstown Pride, with the Somerset Pride, and Tulsi does a lot for the Juneteenth event, and she can talk about that. But we take a really active role in supporting some of the other things that have been happening in the community, and bringing our own brand. We have a multiracial group. A lot of our core group members have at least first generation, or some are immigrants. Not, their country of origin is not the birth country of origin is not the United States. So it's a little different sort of makeup than the original Unity Coalition, but it's a really powerful group of women mainly that try to co-lead and be responsive. And one of the things that I really like about the Unity Coalition is that we're very relational. I think sometimes I find I see it sometimes social justice organizations, we can get so focused on, like, we need to get this done, that we forget to be kind to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the Unity, like those of us who are doing a lot in the Unity Coalition, we take the relationships that we're creating in our community very, very seriously. And it's those relationships that make our community strong and rich. And there's things that maybe we can't change about the way people think or feel in our community, but we can develop meaningful relationships in some of the places and spaces that our group interacts in the community. That's all I'll say for now.
Okay, well, you certainly said plenty. So, so yes, certainly the Welcome Johnstown event. That was a recent event that was fairly successful. I mean, I say was the Unity Coalition. Well, I guess they were part of it, wasn't weren't they? That was last fall.
I think some of our
Yeah,
members, but not as Unity Coalition.
Oh, okay.
cor- correct. I think that was last spring, actually, in May, I want to say. Yes.
So, okay. So I guess so. Tulsi, I guess you could talk about how, I guess maybe like your ethnic background probably contributed to you wanting to be part of an organization like the Unity Coalition.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for having both of us on. I'd like to thank Rachel actually, because it's through her that I was able to find this group. And I think initially I started out with I do Bollywood dancing. So I had that Indian dance, and then some of the events that were happening around the community regarding diversity, we would always show up. And I'd always meet Rachel there as also a part of the African dance ensemble. So, and I'd see her drumming, and it was just a wonderful meeting until I found out that we also share the same kind of passions and mission for bettering the community and seeing this rise of anti-immigrant sentiment in the not only our community but like in the entire nation. So that was something that kind of led me to join, and from there I've been so happy to be a part of many of our like diversity initiatives. So I'm happy to say that we support the Johnstown NAACP a lot with the MLK events. We like to just make sure we make an appearance there and show our support, as well as for the yearly Juneteenth events. We try to have a booth every year, along with a like schedule of events that share and embrace the heritage and diversity and different cultures of our community. We've been happy to host diversity workshops in the past, which have been really nice, and food festivals as well. And like you said, Paul, some of our members, we were involved in the Welcoming Johnstown event to ensure that immigrants in the area feel welcome. Um, and yeah, I think it's just goes back to our original mission of repudiating hate, uh, and making our community the place that we know it really is. Genuinely, we know that Johnstown's not a place full of hate, and the people here are not. So we just want to make sure that everybody feels at home and feels welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to ask Rachel, maybe like were you involved when, when the Casanova restaurant on, on Somerset Pike was being driven out by, the Ku Klux Klan and the Anabaptists?
Yeah, and I'm actually an Anabaptist, so I want to really
Okay.
uh, create awareness that the person who was driving that is not someone who um, has a lot of convergence with Anabaptist theology. So
Okay.
yeah, that was at the point where my kids were really little. So that was before social media. So I was aware of it, and I think I went out there once for like a protest or something, but I wasn't super involved. Being a mom of young kids, and especially having a young child with a disability that has lots of needs, it wasn't possible for me to be as active at that particular time, but I remember that very well.
Okay. Yes. I mean, sadly, eventually they were successful in driving them out, but still it helped maybe lay the foundation, and then I guess maybe so. I guess the focus may have turned at, like with the Unity Coalition, say after 9/11, more concern about anti-Muslim activity, and I guess and certainly maybe like anti-Asian hate after with the coronavirus pandemic. So yes, I mean, plus African American, their challenges with the Black Lives Matter movement. So certainly all of these things are going on, and you know, and basically you know, the purpose of a group like the Unity Coalition is to try to counteract those actions.
Right. Right. And I think a lot of the way, just like what Tulsi and I were talking about, a lot of the way we contract those organizations is we're visible, and then we create relationships, because I think relational, um, the relational fabric of our community is just something that strengthens it. And being able to, I think one of the things that I love about our International Food Festival is it's not political. I mean, we try in a sense not to be political. It's like it's about humanity. um and but having something like the International Food Festival creates a space. Like, I'm guessing that everyone that comes to that event, it sells out, perhaps doesn't have the same voting record as me,
Hmm.
but it creates a space for people to be like, oh, this is what this is, or oh, this is, oh, okay. I had a conversation with someone who was brown. I never have before. I never talked to somebody that didn't wasn't born in America, and maybe it feels less scary now for me to think about, you know, Muslims or whatever, and I think some of the time those types of interactions. And Juneteenth, we're in the park and we have a whole day there, and then Tulsi and Senda and I are usually there like every other day that we can. But you have people that are just coming to the park and engaging, and you don't have to have a discussion around what someone, you know uh what their political beliefs are, but we're engaging in life affirming activities together. And I think that has more potential to shift hearts and minds than cramming something down someone's throat or calling them a bigot or a racist. Like, it's not helpful. um Even though it's a natural response that I think is hard. It's hard for me not to have that response sometimes. But I think, being in these spaces where we can create opportunities for conversation, There was not this past year, Tulsi, you probably remember this. The year before, there was a couple. There were a white couple with like a 2 or 3 year old kid, and they were just driving through Johnstown. They were from Baltimore, and they saw Juneteenth, and they stopped, and they were just like, "What a fabulous community you have!" They bought shirts. They like, and they were just like, wow, this is like, look how friendly everybody is. Look how everybody's just like interacting, and all these people from different backgrounds are connecting. And, it was just so fun to like, to see somebody from the outside of our community, like coming in and seeing this, type of engagement, and feeling really like feeling welcomed, even though it's not their community, and seeing the ability for people from different walks of life to get along.
Mhm.
Kelsey, did you want to add anything to that?
I would just like to add that I think Rachel hit the nail on the head by saying that it is genuinely, most of our programs and events that we do are non-political, and it's absolutely just a celebration of um the actual ability to see each other as, like, remove all the labels and just see each other as human, like interacting with learning about new cultures, learning about how many languages are spoken in Johnstown itself, and then realizing, oh, that's my neighbor, like, and then making that connection, I think really helps when you then end up seeing these news headlines and everything. You're not as, I think it reduces the fear in the community, and fosters a greater sense of connection. So I'd just like to say that I'm happy that the unity is a part of that.
Okay. So have you, as so I know, I guess maybe I'm sure the coalition from time to time has had to has had to deal with negative feedback from the community from time to time. Let's say I remember like a Jerry Carnicella was complaining about the rally you had for, the rally you had after Charlottesville.
Right. I mean, I think, it's a shame because, I mean, to me, our humanity is our humanity. I think of being, Tulsi comes from India, and I'm a student of the Eightfold Path of Yoga, and this idea of non-harming, like removing causes of injury from spaces and places. And it's this sense of like, we all should have access to resources. We all should be able to freely and safely navigate in our bodies as we show up in those bodies and live in peace. And so that sometimes, obviously politics is the umbrella where these policies and things come into play. But really, essentially, it's about that. It's about having equitable access to resources, being able to freely and safely navigate and in one's body without harm, and live in peace. And that is not everybody's situation. And so that's part, like, how can we make in what way can our community reflect that value? And, some people will make it political, but to me, it's really not. It's about that, those core essential human values, and not just humans, other species too. Um, but I think that when it becomes like, what's happening in Florida with,
Yeah.
you can't say the word gay, and they're taking books out of libraries, and removing AP classes on African American history. It's just sad. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, even censoring math textbooks because he thinks they support critical race theory. I mean, well, when you're teaching, it's better to use examples that your students can relate to. I mean, like obviously when you're trying to bridge any achievement gap between different groups. So,
Yeah, and I think that part of like one of some of the things that we've done with the diversity trainings, and is to try to unpack some of the jargon around that, and be able to look in our communities and say, well, look at the nonprofit world. Wow, everybody's board is full of white people. And these are just things, these are like facts. So it's not like an attack, but it's just like, look, can we look, without judgment, and just be really clear and real with what is in front of us, and where we need to perhaps look at changing. And there's always resistance to change, because it's uncomfortable, and for many people in dominant culture, they're not used to discomfort. So it's a challenge that's like, well, what? But I think, like, one of the things that we've tried to do is to not be so, like, um confrontational about that. But, like, I think that the different workshops and things that we've had have been very much rooted in that those values of, like, equity, freedom, safety, and peace.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but sadly, sometimes old prejudices sometimes can die slow, painful deaths. So, I mean,
Right.
that could be a challenge. So, Tulsi, I did have a question for you.
Sure.
So you said you're in grad school right now studying data analytics.
Yes.
So, could you talk about how do you plan on using what you're learning to improve like the to advocate for things like the Unity Coalition advocates for?
Absolutely, that's my favorite topic to talk about. So yeah, I with my experience in Johnstown after I graduated, I was so lucky that, and I'm so happy that I stayed in Johnstown for a while to really cement and help out the community as much as I could. And it wasn't even COVID. Like, I was just happy to be there and get so involved, and through that is where I found the field of social data analytics, which is not, I'm not talking about social media, but talking about data for social good. And through my data analytics program, each of the projects that I'm working on right now, I strive to put in some element of community or equity or bias, or like somewhere we're seeing that, like, the decisions and that policymakers make right now in our towns, city councils, in our state, in government, are all data driven, and we have to make sure that that data is um, first of all equitable. It's representative of all the people, and eventually is going towards making it a more equal place to live, rather than or helping provide access to more people for certain services, or certain underrepresented populations, to ensure that they're more seen. So going back to that, here at George Mason University, I've been lucky to join the Community Informatics Lab, and I'm doing research with a group of people and a professor now to kind of focus on exactly this. What kind of um, you know, community projects can we help with in from a technological and data perspective? And my dream is to eventually, come and bring that back to Johnstown and do any projects that I can, continue applying my skill set over there back home.
Okay, well, certainly. So that's up my alley as well.
Yes,
So certainly I'd be very happy to collaborate with you on certain
of
projects.
course, of course.
Just as I've been working with with the coronavirus task force, and I use a lot of county health rankings data. It's
Yes,
certainly a wealth of information about the county. And I have written extensively, like African American life expectancy, tends to be very low in the county. That's one of the main reasons why the county overall has a low ranking. So certainly that could be a topic for another time.
right, right.
So, okay. And so, like, are there any, like, future plans, Rachel, for what's on the horizon for the Unity Coalition?
Oh gosh, I wish I would have written some things down. Tulsi, you don't know about this yet, but maybe you do. We're going to be resurrecting our International Food Festival,
Okay.
and that will be Saturday, May 18th. And Sama Sabitan who is was born in Libya, heads that particular project. Her and her mother, and it is, again, it's like one of the premier events. Tulsi, I hope you're going to be able to be there.
I hope so. I hope so.
So we have that going on. Um, oh, what else? There's another member, Shelley Johansson, who also works for Jaha. Her and I are on a committee right now that is working to host an event in September. It'll be 100-year anniversary of the
Oh,
banished
okay.
Rosedale. So we're working with Dr. Carol Francois and uh, Courtney Square. They have an educational program called Why Are They So Angry? And they have a podcast. Dr. Carol is originally from Johnstown, and Courtney lives here now. So I've been working with them on that, and Unity will be involved in helping to promote that. Um, I feel like there's something else. Oh, Juneteenth is going to be, we're going to be involved with that. We are going to be involved again with Somerset and Johnstown Pride events. Um, so that's where we are now. There's a lot. There's a few core members, and most of us. Not my kids are older now, but a lot of the people still have kids at home. So we do what we can when we can and where we can. And I know Chris Dolan is interested in doing. She's actually running a program where she's rehabbing feral cats, and she's been really involved with that. So that's not Unity Coalition, but I know she is interested in doing something at some point on environmental justice. So we'll see what she comes up with. But yeah.
Okay, well, certainly it's good to hear you're still active. So I did notice, like I noticed like one thing that was discussed in the last election, Frank Burns, like he was running on like,
Right.
accusing Renee Billow of being supported by people who want to bring Afghan refugees here. So do you know if have there been any Afghan refugees moving to the area?
Sama would know that, and I don't know that Sama is connected with any of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I basically don't have anything good to say about anybody in that situation. um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I feel like there was some manipulation on people's there was manipulation on the beliefs and values of people that support immigrants as well as the anti-immigrant. It felt like there was like, where are the people with integrity? Show up, somebody, because I don't see anybody showing up with integrity here in this whole conversation. So I'm sure that'll make me some more friends in Johnstown by saying that. But
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, well, yes. I mean, of course, I have reported on that some. I even went to a Trump rally, so to cover it, and,
wow,
and
where was that at, Paul?
that was in Latrobe when right before the election.
Yeah,
I mean, most of the people there, they're just ordinary people. Some of them, of course, some of them, complaining about feeling like they're being attacked for what they believe. So yes, I mean, like I said, most of the people there were normal, and I could even share that post with you. I have others. I interviewed Alexis Zinovenko
right, yeah.
days ago about transgender issues in the area. I guess my one of the big difficulties for them is being able to travel to having to travel to Pittsburgh to get all the medication they need.
Right.
So yes, I mean certainly social justice can be a very, a thorny thing to try to achieve.
I want to throw something out and hear what you both of you have to say. I get the sense that people that you're talking about the Trump rally,
Mhm.
and people that are feeling very strongly about teaching critical race theory or the rights of transgender people. I get the feeling that they feel that their pain is greater than the pain of someone like Alexis who has to circumvent and navigate all these, obstacles. I feel like that is like it's I mean it's a false equivalency, but I feel like that is when I look at these conversations and things that people put out like Ron DeSantis and
Yeah.
not particularly him, but what he's playing on is this idea that like my pain about you having access is greater than you actually not having access. What do you guys think that there's some merit to that insight, or do you see
Well,
that, or is there something I'm missing?
well, I mean, yes. I mean, of course, like you heard, like in the Charlottesville, the Jews will not replace us. Like they're being driven by this fear of being replaced, or or losing their position in society, as new people come in. I mean, like sometimes I even heard that like with my cousins in Italy, they were all complaining, I don't like all these people coming here. I did kind of point out to them that, yeah, well, they used to say the same thing about Italians here in the US. So there was a time. So, okay. Well, we're just about done, Tulsi. I see you have a meeting coming up.
Actually, I think this Zoom meeting is set for 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
There's a timer up, less than 5 minutes to go. So, okay. Well, is there anything else?
Paul, does this go on your website, or do
It,
you
it, it goes on the website, it'll be recorded. It's being recorded, and then yes, I will post it this evening on my website, and I'll be happy to share this and other posts with you. So,
we'll share it on Unity
wonderful.
Facebook page too.
Yes.
okay.
And I'd just like to add, from what Rachel was saying about future plans, I do hope that the Unity Coalition events, as well as any of the organizations that we're supporting in town, also kind of gain traction. So, for example, I think that the Juneteenth event should be as big as like we can't expect thunder in the valley, but my vision is that these are
Yeah.
also the kind of events that Johnstown is known for in the future.
Yeah. Too
Yeah.
bad. Too bad you couldn't like combine the two somehow.
Well, I think Tulsi, you would know this too. I think the Juneteenth event that the Johnstown NAACP chapter puts on, which is like 8 days long, is the longest in the state of Pennsylvania.
Amazing. You'll have to see it.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I think I'm going to stop recording now, and then,
Yeah.
well, we'll say our goodbyes.